Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for joining us. We are digging into the top 100 board games of BGG. The people have voted.
Yeah.
These are the best board games of all time.
Yeah, and we must play them all now.
Except for some of them, which just clearly aren't. We are swinging through the top 100, doing, at the moment, paired gameplays and reviews. Some of them may just be review videos, but we're going to be going consecutively through. We're starting with the first 10, 90 through 100, and Patchwork is sitting right here.
At 93.
At 93. Now, today we're actually filming 3 or 4 of these. We've been playing through and stockpiling some experience with a few of them over the last couple weeks while going to PAX and such. So we haven't actually scratched anything. This will be the first time we start actually peeling off the scratch stuff. I think that's the official name. From the top 100 poster. Now, I do have to say, I'm not going to take all the credit for this.
No?
But we had, thousands of people watch a video where we displayed this poster and talked about it and shared it. And then I went to make a holiday list, a gift guide.
Yeah.
The poster's not available. Not at all. Period. Anywhere. And it was available 100% anytime we looked for the past 8 months.
Look at you getting all haughty, but you caused this poster to sell out.
I don't know if they had 10 of them.
Yeah.
Or if they had 100
because this was redone also. We had an older one, and we replaced it, and so we have the newest version.
Some things did change. We have the newest version of it. But if you're looking for this, keep your eyes out over on Amazon or on the BGG store, because this should come back into stock, but right now I can't send people links even though they keep asking for it.
And join us on this journey. Play these games with us and let us know what you think in the comments down below.
While you start scratching that off very carefully, because we discovered it doesn't scratch very easily, I'm going to talk about our format here. So we're going to go pretty straightforward, and if you want other categories included, feel free to leave comments and ask questions down below, but we're going to give you an overview of the game. We're going to break down what makes the game right for us and wrong for us, kind of echoing on that right for you, wrong for you format that we do with our major review videos. And then we're going to talk about whether or not we think it deserves to be in the top 100, compare it to the other games that we have experience with, and talk about our journey so far. And we're going to give it a rating. At the very end, we're going to give you a 1 through 5, a breakdown of where this sits, because as we break through this list, we're either going to be kicking some out of the top 100 as far as we're concerned, or solidifying them and saying they should be higher. So, how's the... Oh, that's cute!
It's got a little button.
So one of the things I like about this poster is they actually have custom artwork underneath each one of the tiles.
Okay. I did that very nice and neatly.
You did that very nice and neatly. It's very effective.
Stuck to your knife now.
Now the thing I don't want is all of those little flakes to be all over the room.
Yeah, that's why I've left them in a little pile right there.
Perfect. We'll slide that off to the side. We have an adorable,
very cute.
We have an adorable little button. Let's start talking about Patchwork.
Okay.
Patchwork is going to be a tile-laying game by UA Rosenberg, published by Lookout Games. It is a 2-player only game, and it is well beloved. It is highly accessible. For the most part, you're going to have a ring of tiles around the outside edge. They'll all look like these little quilt pieces with various buttons on them. We just finished a gameplay video if you want to swing over and check that out to see how the game actually operates on the table. But you'll be moving this figurehead, this big wooden piece, around this ring, collecting tiles, paying in buttons, and moving up a time track.
Yep.
As you progress throughout the game, you'll be able to get smaller patches, like little leather patches, to fill in your squares. You'll also be generating or getting buttons, which are going to be the economy, that you use then purchase more valuable and larger tiles. The crux of this game
is to fill up your entire grid and leave as little free spaces as possible, because each free space is a penalty at the end of the game. Your points are worth in buttons, and so as you generate your economy, you're creating more points for you at the end of the game, because you will have one last economic run at the end. However, every single free space that you have showing will detract 2 buttons.
Yep.
So it's very penalizing.
So I've got a lot to say on the second section of this review.
Which one is that?
Let's start with what you like about it.
I like the geometric puzzle. I really like these types of puzzles. Where you're trying to... What are they called? These are...
Polyomino pieces.
Thank you. I like...
Baron Park, Feast for Odin, Calico, in some ways, tile laying.
Yeah. I like polyomino games. I was about to mix it up with...
Polyomino is going to be the Tetris-like shapes.
Yeah.
Calico is just tile laying, but still the same similar type of matching and pattern building.
Yeah, exactly. And I enjoy, especially the polyominoes. I love Baron Park. Mm-hmm. I like the L game as well. it's just
Project L.
Project L.
You also like Isle of Cats, which is coming up on, I believe it's number 96 in our list.
Yes, it is. I enjoy the puzzle. I enjoyed playing Tetris when I was little and trying to figure out where each piece would fit properly in. You had to rotate them a little bit. You couldn't flip it in the video game. So that is probably my most enjoyable part of this.
Okay. I actually really like the economy of this game. As a head-to-head two-player, it is really, really easy to table.
Yeah.
You set up quickly, and it has a nice crunchy economy. The decision point between pressing forward and skipping over or generating buttons or trying to spend extra time that you really don't have in order to get a little leather patch that you need to add to your board to fill in a square, all of that feels really good. I can really understand why people see this as a gateway or an introduction into polyomino-style games, and why so many people have not only added it early onto their collection, but has kept it in their collection for years.
I feel like it's also fairly punchy. Like, there are times where I looked at your board and I was like, oh, that piece would work well for you. If there's a way that I can skip over it and I'll have a shot at it next round.
Once you get experienced, you can be mean. Which is something that I like about a lot of two-player games. The experience level for the couple that's playing can escalate in a way that makes it different as you play more.
Like, I saw you creating the worst board ever, and I was like, which ways can I mess him up?
Until we got to the final score, and then she realized it wasn't quite the worst board in the world. We'll leave that for them to discover. Here's the thing. For me, I think this does a really good job at being a overwhelmingly accessible introduction to polyomino games for two players that will feel different when you've played it 10 times versus playing it 2 times. Because I think there's room for you to, like you said, start paying attention to what your opponent's doing. Start counting the number of buttons they have. Start looking at how these pieces randomly displayed themselves and figuring out where you can squeeze, where you can cross the line. How can I buy 3 tiles before you ever get to take your next turn? Yeah. Stuff like that feels really good to do.
Are we talking about what's worse for us?
Are you done? Are you done with what's good for you?
I think so. We talked about the economy. We talked about the tiling, polyomino puzzle of it. I think it can get boring after a while. I think it can get very repetitive. Yeah. We've played it a decent amount of times now, and I'm already like, when you bring it up, I'm like, there's so many more better tiling.
I've never not enjoyed the play.
I think for the time it takes to play it in, it is a great get up to the table. But if I'm looking for that specific time period, there's a lot more better two-player head-to-head games that I want to play, and if I'm looking for a polyomino experience, there are a lot more complex polyomino experiences.
I've never not enjoyed a game, but I've also never had moments that felt ecstatic or like I just completely outsmarted the puzzle. Yeah. There's no way to break this game. No. And it comes down oftentimes, in our experience, to a few very tight numbers. And sometimes I feel like those numbers are based around poor decisions or good decisions that I made. And other times, honestly, I feel like it was just kind of how the math worked out. And if we both play well, we'll both be within the same range. And if you're a point or two higher than me or lower than me, I don't know that it was my fault that you got there. Yeah. Or your success that you won. I like the game. I do. I have strong reservations around it. I would in no way not encourage people to pick this up and play it. No. But for anyone watching the channel that is going backwards in their gaming experience, maybe working through the top 100 list with us or something like that, it's not one that I think is going to last in my collection. It's not one that I think you and I are going to continue pulling out. Yeah. But I would be happy to gift it to other people that don't know about our hobby space. Yeah, I think that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Or the button on the Patchwork. What do I not like about it? What makes it wrong for me overall? I think it is not as deeply strategic as I would like it to be. The puzzle doesn't randomize itself in a rewarding way from game to game. Instead, you can start learning to math and get perfect with your numbers. But at a certain point, even that element will cap. I don't love the aesthetic of the game. I was going to say, the artwork, the aesthetic is not my cup of tea. There's a lot prettier games, in my opinion. I actually like the idea of building quilts. Yeah. I just don't love the way they displayed these quilts. Mm-hmm. Like, I think there's prettier quilts. My grandmother and mom, made quilts when I was young. You can get much more vibrant, interesting quilts. Yeah. And the pattern here is fine. If I was going to keep the game, I would honestly probably upgrade the player boards and I'd get actual buttons. I think buttons would be really nice to have.
I think that would be cute.
I think that would add some texture and life to the game. Maybe even trade this out for a thimble or something rewarding. Like these for thimbles, this for like a large sewing needle or a pincushion.
Or even like the spool of thread.
Spool of thread. Yeah, there's ways to make this more charming, more aesthetically pleasing, more nice to get to the table.
For the box space it occupies, I think it's fabulous for the shelf. Because it's I consider it a small box game. Yeah. And so it's not occupying too much shelf space for the experience it does deliver.
What do you think? I mean, are you with me that you don't think it's going to last in the collection?
Yeah,
Or are you leaning towards you'd like to hold on to it because you think there's reasons why you'd play it?
I want to hold on to it long enough to gift it to someone who could appreciate it. Because I think it's a great gift. I think it's a very accessible two-player.
Yeah. This is a hard one for me because I don't love it, but as we move on to the next section, does it deserve to be in the BGG Top 100? I'm a bit conflicted. I can understand why it's there. I completely get why people love Patchwork. Mm-hmm. I also don't think... I think it's probably on its way out of the top 100.
I think it's very confident.
I think it's moving down the track.
I'm curious if we can track its progression each year.
You want me to check right now where it sits? Because it might have already been pushed back. You talk about whether or not it deserves to be there, and let me see where it is at the moment. I'm curious if we can track its progression
to see if it was higher up and has slowly been creeping down. Because right now it's sitting at 93, so it could very easily be eked out. And I think
at the time of making that, it's sitting at 93.
Right. I think with our industry constantly evolving and learning from past games and improving the mechanics, I think there will be a better polyomino experience that will push this one out.
Yeah, top 100. It's at 94 at the moment.
So one lower than this.
One lower than this, but I do think it's interesting because Russian Railroads has also shifted back a little bit too. So everything it seems like a game must have shifted a whole stack down a level. Which, I'm not sure if it's on there or not. It might be Lost Ruins or Arnak that jumped before this poster was made.
Okay.
Because it right now is skyrocketing. But does it deserve to be in the top 100?
I think it has, up until this point, deserved to be in the top 100. I don't think it deserves to continue being in the top 100. I think its time has peaked, and I think now it's slowly declining. And I think people who are nostalgic might feel bad about that, but I think there are better games that are up and coming.
I think it deserves to be played. I think it probably deserves to have a deluxeified reprint. There's things I would love to see, and maybe they exist.
Maybe little modules that changed something up with it.
I would love to see the puzzle get more complicated. I'd love to see the pattern laying tile give you a...
I'd love to see maybe goal objectives that you had to decipher this one. That's 7x7.
I'd love to see more, expand on it. And maybe there are those expansions out there that we haven't went to dig into because we're not covering expansions on this.
Yeah.
I think I'm right there with you. I think I understand why it has been in the top 100. I would be very surprised if it was still in the top 100 if you give it another 6 months to a year as some of these new games come out.
Yeah.
Isle of Cats is going to pass it. I mean, Baron Park, if it isn't up there, I think should be ahead of it. There's a lot of games in this polyomino space. Feast for Odin, I know for a fact, is already above it.
Yep.
There's a lot of these polyomino games that do this puzzle justice in a better way, and I would quickly bridge someone from this to something more advanced within about 3 plays.
Yep.
So,
what's your final ranking on it?
Final ranking. So our scale for this top 100, we're going to keep our 1 to 5.
Can you look up what it's ranked at?
I'll take a look after we do this. I'll take a look. We're going to, and maybe we'll collect these stats earlier on for the next videos. Our ranking is a 1 through 5 with decimals, which will translate into the 10-point scale.
Yep.
But honestly, I like a 1.5 to be a little bit tighter and a little bit more concise. 1 is just an awful game we never want to play again. 2 is a good game that we would never request and might make excuses for something else if people wanted to play it with us. 3 is a really solid game that we're happy to play if people ask to play it.
4 is a great game that has some negative thing about it that detracts from the experience.
Yeah.
And 5 is an awesome all-around game, even though it might have a couple things.
Still have critiques.
It might have some critiques, but they don't detract meaningfully from the play experience.
5 is a game that I'm upset if friends don't want to play with me.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I think Patchwork for me is probably sitting like a 2.5.
Really?
At
You're going to make excuses not to play it.
At this point, I think I would suggest multiple other games before it. If you pulled it out and you were like, I mean, think about the 2 games we just played this weekend.
Yeah.
Caesar or Blitzkrieg.
Yeah. They play in the same amount of time.
Same 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you pulled out Patchwork next weekend and you were like, hey, let's play Patchwork.
I already know which one of those 2 games you prefer.
I would go, oh, well, what about this game? Or what about that game? Or, oh, look at the time. We don't really... Do we have time for...
20 minutes?
Do we have time for something bigger? Do we have time for something heavier? And I would play it. I think it's a good game, but it's not, And so translating up, I think it's a 5, maybe a 6 on the BGG scale for me.
A 6 would be a 3, so a 2.5 is a 5.
Debatable. I mean, there's a 10-point scale has a weird range.
Okay. For me, this is going to be it's a 3. I think it's a good game.
Okay.
And it would translate up to a 6.
Happy to play it if someone wanted to.
6 to 6.5. Because I was leaning towards 3 to 3.25, and we're not doing 0.25s anymore.
Let's see.
So
let's see where it currently stands on BGG. Published in 2014, currently stands at a 7.6, which I think is overrated.
Yeah.
I think it is higher than it should be, with 52,000 ratings. So we were wrong, as far as our opinion goes. Just so you know, it is It is number 5 in terms of abstract games, number 12 in terms of family games, and number 94 ranked overall.
I don't know. There's so many better abstracts.
That's
going to be my mini goal, to play through those abstracts.
We'll see. Azul is at the top, Cascadia, Azul Summer Pavilion, Yinch, and then Patchwork. Yinch, and then Patchwork.
Played Yinch. I have not played Azul. I've played Cascadia, though. All right. I think that's a wrap.
I think it's a review. Are we drastically wrong on this?
Are we missing something massive? Are there expansions that would tighten up this experience?
Or is it just maybe one of those games that people rate high because it's one of the first games they come across, and they love the hobby? And
you don't know if people are continuing to rate it high.
Well, they might have started.
As, let's say, every 100 people who enter the hobby and play this, they continue submitting their ratings.
That's what I'm saying,
No one goes back and amends their ratings.
Some people do, but not often.
So,
is this where it is in our collection for you after playing it quite a few times? And is the ranking that it has based off of falling in love with a hobby? And maybe that's tinted a little bit with some rose-colored glasses.
whatever the case.
Whatever you do, watch our other videos. There's links. They're popping up right now. You can literally click on any of them. There's so many things. There's a gameplay of this game. There's other top 100 review list things. Why aren't you clicking on one of them? I don't understand why you're still listening. You click on one of these. That is the important thing that you're supposed to be doing because they're literally right here. There's a box in front of my chest at the Why is the box?
Say thank you.
Thank you.